James, you don't look steady. Hey, sit down, sit down. I'm fine. Just give me a second. The chair scraped hard against the floor. The coffee hit the table, then spilled. James Carter grabbed the edge of the counter with both hands like it was the only thing holding him up. His neighbor Diane froze in the doorway, eyes locked on him. You're not fine. You're shaking. I'm calling someone. No, don't. I just stood up too fast. But he hadn't. Not really. He had stood up the same way he had every morning for the past 20 years. Same chair, same movement, same routine. And yet this time something snapped out of rhythm. His legs felt delayed, like they were reacting a second too late. His head spun, not violently, but enough to make the room tilt just slightly off center. That small shift, that was the part that scared him. Not pain, not weakness. Just wrong. Diane stepped closer. James, when was the last time this happened? He hesitated. That pause said everything. Couple weeks, he muttered. Maybe more. More? He didn't answer, because now that he thought about it, it hadn't started all at once. It had crept in, a misstep on the stairs, a bump into the kitchen table. That strange moment last Tuesday when he reached for a glass and knocked it over like his hand didn't quite land where it should. Little things. Easy to ignore, easy to explain away. Until now. He eased himself back into the chair, breathing heavier than he wanted to admit. Diane didn't move. She just watched him, waiting for him to say it out loud. Instead, he said something else. Do you remember Michael, back in Jersey? The one who fell last year? Yeah. He broke his hip, right? James nodded slowly. He told me it started like this. Silence filled the room. Not dramatic, just heavy. At the time, James had brushed it off. Thought Michael got unlucky. Thought it was just one bad fall. Now, sitting there, hands still gripping the armrests, he wasn't so sure anymore. Because this didn't feel like a bad day. This felt like something had already changed. And the worst part? He had no idea when it started. Diane finally spoke, softer this time. James, what if this isn't just age? He didn't answer, because for the first time, that possibility didn't sound exaggerated. It sounded accurate. And what neither of them understood yet was that this moment, this quiet, almost invisible loss of control, was only the beginning of something much bigger. Before we go any further, let me ask you to do one thing. If stories like this make you stop and think about aging, about independence, about what really matters, take a second to like this video and subscribe. This channel shares stories that don't sugarcoat getting older, and today's story might change how you see it entirely. Because what I'm about to show you isn't theory. It's what happens when your body starts changing in ways no one warns you about, and how those changes quietly build up until one moment, like the one James just had, forces you to face them all at once. There are 5 changes that almost everyone experiences after the age of 70. Not maybe, not sometimes, almost everyone. And the first one, the one most people ignore until it's too late, is loss of balance. What just happened to James? That moment when the room shifted, when his legs didn't respond the way they should, that wasn't random. That wasn't just getting older. That was the first visible crack in a system that had already been weakening for years. The next morning, Diane found him moving slower than usual. Why are you holding the railing like that? She asked. I'm just being careful, James replied. But he wasn't just being careful, he was compensating. He no longer trusted his steps. He paused before turning. He avoided quick movements. Even walking across his own living room felt slightly uncertain, like the floor might betray him if he moved too fast. And the strange part? The more careful he became, the less confident he felt. Because careful doesn't fix a failing system. It only hides it, for a while. That's exactly how it started for Michael. James couldn't shake that memory. Michael, 75, living alone in New Jersey, healthy, independent, still driving, still active. The kind of man who said, I've got good balance for my age. Until one morning his phone rang. He stood up too quickly, took 2 steps, and the world tilted just enough. That was it. One misstep. 1 second too slow. He hit the floor hard enough to break his hip. 6 months of physical therapy followed. But here's the part no one tells you. He didn't go back to normal. He couldn't. His independence was gone. Not overnight, but permanently. And it didn't start with the fall. It started weeks, maybe months, before, when his body began sending weaker signals. And he didn't notice. Here's what's really happening. Your balance isn't controlled by one system, it's controlled by 3. Your inner ear tracks movement and position. Your eyes judge distance and depth. And your body, your muscles and joints, tell your brain where you are in space without you having to look. After 70, all 3 begin to decline. The inner ear loses sensitivity. The eyes struggle with contrast and depth. The body's internal sensors become dull. But the real damage happens in the brain. Because even if those systems still send signals, your brain processes them slower. Much slower. So when you lose balance even slightly, your body reacts too late. Not by seconds. By fractions of a second. And at this age, that's all it takes. So this isn't about being clumsy. It's not about watching your step. It's about a system that's slowly shutting down. And here's the question no one asks. If your body can't tell where you are, how do you stay upright? James didn't have that answer yet. But what he did have was a choice. Ignore it, or adapt, because there are ways to fight back. Not perfectly, but enough to stay independent. Balance has to be trained. Daily, like brushing your teeth. Stand on one foot while turning your head. Walk and count backwards at the same time. Force your brain to process movement and thinking together, because that's how real life works. Tai Chi isn't just exercise. It's one of the few methods proven to reduce fall risk dramatically. Slow movement, weight shifting, control. And your environment? That matters more than you think. Loose rugs, poor lighting, cluttered walkways. These aren't small risks anymore. They're traps. The truth is simple and uncomfortable. The fall doesn't happen in 1 second. It starts months before, when your body stops warning you. If losing balance is the first warning, this is what makes it dangerous. Because even if you never fall, your body is still changing underneath you. There are 5 changes after 70. And the second one, the one that quietly takes away your strength, is muscle loss. Diane noticed it before James did. "Why are you using both hands to stand up?" she asked. "I always do that," he said. "No, you don't." He paused, because she was right. He hadn't always needed both hands. That same afternoon, he tried getting out of his chair without pushing off the armrests. He couldn't. Not because of pain, not because of injury, just no strength. And that's when it hit him. This wasn't just balance. Something deeper was going on. That's exactly what happened to Linda Brooks, 74, Austin, Texas, independent, active. The kind of person who said, "I'm not slowing down anytime soon." Then she caught the flu. Nothing dramatic, no hospital, just 10 days in bed. When she recovered, the fever was gone. The cough was gone. But something else was gone too. "I tried to get up," she said, "and my legs just didn't respond." She had to push herself up. Walking upstairs became a task. Not impossible, but no longer automatic. I felt like I aged 10 years in 10 days. And here's the truth most people don't hear. She didn't lose strength because she was sick. She lost it because she stopped moving. After 70, your body doesn't just get weaker, it starts breaking down muscle faster than it can rebuild it. Even if you're eating enough, even if you're doing everything right, your body begins using its own muscle as fuel, not slowly, constantly. And there's something even worse happening at the same time. Your muscles stop responding the way they used to. You can eat protein, you can exercise, but your body doesn't absorb it or use it as effectively anymore. It's like pressing the gas pedal and getting half the response. Doctors call it resistance, but you don't need that word. You feel it. You lift something that used to be easy. It's heavy. You stand up slower, you get tired faster. And then comes the most dangerous part. 10 days. That's all it takes. 10 days of inactivity can cause the same muscle loss as years of normal aging. And once that muscle is gone, at this age, it doesn't fully come back. Now connect that to what you just heard. Less muscle means weaker legs. Weaker legs mean slower reactions. Slower reactions mean higher fall risk. And just like that, the first problem becomes twice as dangerous. This is how independence disappears, not in one moment, but in layers. So what do you do? First, protein is no longer optional. You don't just eat healthy. You need enough protein in every meal to keep your muscles alive, not once a day, every few hours. Second, movement is medicine, not intense workouts, consistent resistance, light weights, body weight, standing up and sitting down repeatedly. Your muscles need a reason to stay. Third, never stay inactive for long. Sick for a few days? Fine, but you have to get moving again as soon as possible. Because after 70, rest doesn't heal you the same way. It weakens you. James sat there later that evening, staring at his hands. He clenched them. They felt smaller, not visibly, but functionally. And for the first time, he understood something that had been happening quietly for months. You don't notice muscle loss the day it happens. You notice it the day you can't stand up. If losing strength makes you weaker, this next change makes you vulnerable in a way you can't even feel. There are 5 changes after 70. And the third one, the one almost no one talks about, is your body losing its ability to tell you when you're in danger. Rosa, you've been out there way too long. Come inside. I'm fine. It's not even that hot. Her neighbor shook his head. It's 92 degrees. Rosa Martinez, 73, lived in Miami her whole life. She knew heat. She grew up in it. She trusted her body to tell her when it was too much. But that afternoon, something was off. And she didn't know it. She had been walking for nearly 40 minutes. No heavy sweating, no thirst, no sense of urgency. Just a slow, steady walk like she'd done 100 times before. When she got home, she sat down. And that's when it hit her. The dizziness, the weakness, the sudden wave of exhaustion that didn't make sense. I thought maybe I skipped lunch, she later said. I didn't think it was serious. But it was. Because the danger had already passed. Her body just hadn't told her in time. This is what changes after 70. Your body's internal warning system starts to fail. Not completely, not all at once, but enough to make a difference when it matters most. The part of your brain that regulates temperature becomes less sensitive. It doesn't read heat the same way. It doesn't trigger the same responses. Your sweat glands slow down so your body doesn't cool itself as effectively. And the most dangerous change of all, your sense of thirst weakens. You can be dehydrated and not feel it. You can be overheating and not know it. Think about that for a second. For most of your life, your body has been your early warning system. Too hot? You sweat? Too cold? You shiver? Dehydrated? You feel thirsty. These signals kept you alive without you ever thinking about them. Now imagine those signals fading. Not gone, but delayed, distorted, unreliable. What happens when your body stops warning you before danger? That's where this becomes serious. Because unlike balance or strength, you can't train this back easily. You can't feel your way through it anymore. The system you trusted for decades is no longer dependable, and that's exactly what makes it dangerous. Rosa didn't ignore the heat. She simply didn't feel it the way she used to. And this isn't rare. Emergency rooms across the U.S. report a sharp increase in heat-related cases after age 70, not because people are careless, but because their bodies stop signaling distress early enough. The same goes for cold exposure. People don't feel it until it's already affecting their core. So what do you do when your instincts can't be trusted? You replace instinct with structure. You drink water on a schedule, not when you feel thirsty. You check the temperature, not guess it. You avoid extreme conditions, even if you feel fine. You plan your day around what your body can't tell you anymore. Because after 70, feeling fine doesn't always mean you are fine. James thought back to the past few weeks. The moments where something felt slightly off, but not enough to act on. The hesitation, the delay, the subtle signals that didn't quite register. Now he started to see a pattern, not just in movement, not just in strength, but in awareness itself. And that realization was more unsettling than anything he had felt so far. At 70, survival is no longer about feeling, it's about knowing. If your body stops warning you, and your strength starts fading, there's another change happening quietly, every single day, every single meal. There are 5 changes after 70. And the fourth one, the one most people dismiss as just getting older, is your digestive system slowing down. George, you barely touched your food. You okay? I'm fine, just not as hungry. That wasn't true. George Miller, 71, from Ohio, was hungry. He just didn't trust what would happen after he ate. A few months ago, dinner was simple: eat, relax, sleep. Now dinner came with consequences: bloating, discomfort, that heavy feeling that wouldn't go away. It just sits there, he said once, pressing his hand lightly against his stomach, like it's not moving. Nothing in his routine had changed. Same meals, same portions, same schedule. But his body wasn't responding the same way. And that's the part that confuses people, because this doesn't feel like a failure. It feels like a delay. Everything still works, just slower. After 70, your digestive system doesn't shut down. It downshifts. You produce less saliva, so food isn't broken down properly from the start. Your stomach releases less acid, which means protein takes longer to digest and nutrients aren't absorbed as efficiently. Your pancreas produces fewer enzymes, so your body struggles to process what you eat. And your intestines? They slow down, sometimes doubling the time it takes for food to move through your system. From the first bite to the final stage, everything takes longer. And when everything slows down, problems build up. Food sits longer, gas builds, discomfort lingers, energy drops. Because digestion isn't just about food, it's about fuel. If your body can't extract what it needs, your muscles weaken faster, your balance suffers, your recovery slows down. The changes you've already seen, strength loss, instability, they get worse. And the most frustrating part? You didn't change anything. George didn't suddenly start eating differently. His body did. That's what makes this so easy to ignore at first. It's just indigestion. It's just getting older. It'll pass. But it doesn't. It becomes a pattern. And over time, that pattern drains your energy, your strength, and your confidence. So what can you do? You adjust the system. You stop forcing your body to handle large meals the way it used to. Instead, you eat smaller portions more often. You chew longer, not because it sounds good, but because your body depends on it now. You support digestion with enzymes if needed. You bring in fermented foods, yogurt, kefir, things that help your gut do its job. And fiber? It's no longer more is better. It's balance. Because too much can slow you down even more. James started noticing it too. Not pain, not illness. Just that same feeling George described. Food staying longer than it should, energy not returning the way it used to. Another piece of the pattern falling into place. And by now, it was clear. These weren't isolated problems. They were connected, building, layer by layer. It's not that food became harder. Your body just stopped keeping up. If everything you've heard so far feels familiar, this is the one that ties it all together. There are 5 changes after 70, and the 5th one, the one most people feel every single day, is the collapse of your sleep. Margaret, you said you slept 8 hours. Then why do you look exhausted? I was in bed 8 hours, she said. That's not the same thing anymore. Margaret Lee, 76, California, did everything right. She went to bed early. She avoided caffeine. She followed the advice. And yet every morning she woke up tired. Not slightly tired, drained. Her nights weren't empty. They were broken. She would fall asleep at 9:30, wake up at midnight. Fall asleep again, wake up at 2 o'clock, then 3:30, then 5 o'clock. By morning, she had been in bed long enough, but her body never got what it needed. I don't remember the last time I felt rested, she admitted. And that's the part most people don't understand. After 70, sleep doesn't just get shorter, it gets weaker. The deep sleep your body depends on, the stage where your muscles repair, your brain resets, your immune system strengthens, that stage begins to disappear. Not gradually, significantly. Your body produces less melatonin, the hormone that tells you when to sleep. Your internal clock shifts forward, making you tired earlier and waking you up earlier, and your sleep becomes fragmented, breaking into pieces instead of one continuous cycle. So even if you spend 8 hours in bed, your body might only get a fraction of the recovery it used to, and that changes everything. Because sleep is not separate from the other problems, it amplifies them. Poor sleep weakens your muscles faster. It slows your reaction time, making balance worse. It disrupts digestion, making your body less efficient. It drains your energy, making every movement harder. Now go back to everything you've seen. The hesitation when James stood up, the weakness in his legs, the moments where his body didn't respond in time, the days where something just felt off. None of those things exist alone. They build on each other, and sleep is where they all meet. That's why this change matters so much, because it doesn't just affect your nights, it controls your days. James sat quietly that evening, the house still, the same chair beneath him, but everything felt different now. Not because something new had happened, but because he finally understood what had already been happening. The balance issue, the strength loss, the strange moments where his body felt disconnected, the subtle signals he ignored. They weren't random, they were connected, and they had been building for longer than he realized. For the first time, he stopped asking, "What's wrong with me?" and started asking something better. What has changed and how do I adapt? Because that's the real difference. Your body after 70 is not broken. It's different. It follows new rules. And the people who keep their independence, the ones who keep moving, thinking, living on their own, they're not the lucky ones. They're the ones who understand those rules early and adjust. So here's what you need to remember. You may not feel thirsty when you need water. You may not feel unstable until you're already falling. You may not notice muscle loss until you can't stand up. You may not feel the heat until it's already dangerous. And you may not realize how tired you are until it affects everything else. These are not failures, they are signals. But after 70, those signals don't come clearly anymore. So you don't wait for them. You build structure. You move even when you don't feel like it. You eat with intention. You train your balance. You protect your environment. You respect your limits, but you don't surrender to them. Because the truth is simple. You cannot stop these changes. No one can. But you can decide what they take from you. Independence is not lost in a single moment. It's lost in small steps that go unnoticed. And it's protected the same way. One decision at a time. One adjustment at a time. One day at a time. James looked down at his hands again. This time, not with fear, but with clarity. Nothing had suddenly gone wrong. Everything had been slowly changing, and now he finally saw it. Aging is inevitable. Losing control doesn't have to be. If this story resonated with you, please like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who might need to hear it. Leave a comment below. What will you change starting today? I'd love to read your thoughts, because next time I'll be sharing something most people never talk about. Old people smell. 99% don't know this one spot. Wash it daily and it vanishes in 7 days. Thank you for watching, and remember, your best years aren't behind you.